What's up, Victoria? It's Victoria, and today I have a cute little Mob Beauty brand review for you. If you are new to my channel, hi, my name is Tom, and what I like to do on my channel is to help you be a little bit wiser about spending your money on makeup. This is a very weird thing that I have done. I have bought almost a full face of makeup from a brand, which I don't recommend anyone do from any brand, especially if you are just a consumer of makeup. I'm reviewing this makeup for you to make a more informed decision. But ultimately, I can't control where you spend your money or how you spend your money or how much money you have. I'm just giving you the information, and you can take that information and make a purchase or not make a purchase based on my little cute little review that I'm about to do. Personally, if I was not someone who is on YouTube and someone who likes to review makeup, I would not be buying new makeup right now. One of the devilly things about YouTube is that YouTube really likes when people talk about new stuff, things you haven't provided information on already, to keep things growing. So if you are new here, hopefully you will stick around and hit the subscribe button down below. And before we get too far into it, make sure you also hit the like button while you're down there. I've been testing Mob Beauty for the last 2.5 months. I bought all of the stuff you're about to see on Black Friday. They were running, I think, a 25% off sale, and they were a brand that a lot of my audience was very interested in hearing from me about, because a lot of people who are in my audience either already use Mob Beauty or know people who have used Mob Beauty and were just wanting to hear someone do a detailed review on it. Not that there aren't other detailed reviews on YouTube about it, but I would say my experience with Mob Beauty is it's almost exclusively a brand that gets talked about on Instagram, and I don't see too much of it get talked about on YouTube unless it's like one item or a couple items. I feel like most people on YouTube aren't really talking about Mob Beauty. So hopefully I can just add some more context for some of these products for you and answer some of your questions. And if I don't cover something in this video, let me know down below and I will answer your question to the best of my ability. What I want to say at the top is we're going to have some high highs, we're going to have some low lows, and we're going to have some in between things. What I first would like to discuss is the packaging, because I think it is the thing I'm by far the most impressed and confused and disillusioned by. I feel so many ways about the packaging of this. Part of their ethos is sustainability. They send out products that come in paper packaging, and they also have their own system. And I think their own system is the thing that I have the most issue with. So they have a couple different options for you to buy their products. There's a build your own palette where you can choose one of these, where it can hold 8 eyeshadows, or you can get another one that holds 12 eyeshadows. And if you were getting big pans on them, you can either get 4 pans or 6 pans in those bigger ones. I've always been curious about how these would feel. They feel very sturdy in the hand, like feel weighty, and I don't feel like they're gonna bust on me in any capacity. It holds the product in there very well. I enjoy this like forever packaging. I don't know anything about recyclability and compostability. I'm just letting you know it does feel like a plastic. It feels like a piece of plastic. But I know that there's no mirrors in their compacts for the reason of things being recyclable. And if you just buy like one shade of something, it comes in paper packaging. So it's just like a paper box. It's very sturdy though. It doesn't feel like it's gonna break or anything. But what you'll notice is on the back, and this is also the case for the big ones, for the lack of a better term, it's a pronged system that they have for the packaging. You can just push out this product, and then what you'll notice here is that there's 2 kinds of prongs, and that's what goes into those holes. And I think ultimately that's what's keeping the product secure in the box or also in here. To open it, there's a flap here, and I'm gonna do it down here and then kind of show you how it closes. I think that will be best because the product will move around without that down. It has 4 windows. If you were using it for the big pans, or one big pan would fit in each one. There's like a little bit of a rim around the pans of the eyeshadows, and you just essentially click this shut, and this is magnetized. There's no like clicking mechanism. I would say, as far as my knowledge of accessibility, it's a very smooth bit of packaging. The magnet's not too weak or too strong, but I would say this is kind of thin, and if you need more surface area to grip things and open things, you might have a hard time opening this packaging. There are a lot of ridges on the cardboard packaging for the compacts, and I would say that the paper component for the lipsticks is pretty much a standard lipstick component, despite the fact that it is made of paper. It might require a little more pressure to pull. Because it's made of paper, they probably did that to make sure that the lipstick is as secure as possible in this component. And then I also bought a lip liner, and that is just a wood pencil. That's the packaging, but I want to talk about this packaging on a little more complex way. I don't know everything about sustainability, but it's like they talk a lot about it in their branding. This system is very limiting to the packaging that Mob makes. No other brand uses this packaging. I'm sure that they've patented it. I totally get wanting to have your own unique packaging. But to me, it makes more sense to just sell the metal pan, much like what Salt New York does, kind of like what Half Magic does with their panned products. The thing I will tell you is I did go through the effort of depotting one of the metal pans from the plastic, whatever this material is. It is glued in there, but there is a hole to poke out the product. I'm thinking like makeup artists would want to do this, but when you poke it out and the pan's not magnetic, so you would have to attach like one of those metal circles to the bottom. Whereas if they just sold them in magnetic pans, they don't have to manufacture their custom packaging, which would make the products probably less expensive because you're not paying for their custom packaging. And also it makes the product more universal. If someone has a magnetic palette, they would be able to easily pop this into any magnetic palette without having to depot it if they choose to buy your product and put it in a magnetic palette. I know I'm talking about this, and if you follow my channel, you know that like I'm kind of on a journey with that in my makeup system, but I'm also thinking of like professional makeup artists. I do feel like a lot of what Mob is doing feels not like entirely focused on a makeup artist consumer, but a lot of the people that they collaborate with on some of their special shades, they are also makeup artists. If you were a makeup artist, using this as your system in your kit is so limiting to just being able to use Mob makeup. And while I do think that it is compact and it would fit really well in a makeup artist kit, you would just have to use Mob Beauty. Not only that, there's a lot of negative space in here. And if you're a working makeup artist, you would want to use as much space up as possible. You would want to have as much space to put as many things in there as possible. So if I were a makeup artist, and I'm not a working makeup artist, I've never been a working makeup artist, what I would probably do if I bought these, I would go through the process of depotting. That's really annoying. You're making this for kind of no reason. You don't need this. I know you're doing this to make it special part of your branding. I think, wouldn't it be more eco-consciousness to not have any production on any custom packaging, just your pans and the biodegradable mailers that you send them out in? I don't know. I'm thinking out loud here. That's kind of like been my takeaway. Now, I have unboxing footage and I can't even remember what these came in. I bought two things just by themselves. I bought the foundation because the foundation can only be bought by itself. You cannot put it in your build your own palette, which I find incredibly annoying. The idea of this being like a one and done system where I could have eyeshadows and face stuff that I got to pick. I think if you do your build your own palette, I don't know if you can check out with only partially filled to then go add the foundation separately, because you do get a bit of a discount when you do the build your own palette. And I understand having products in your range that you might not want to have discounted, but you might price them in such a way where like putting a discount on them isn't feasible. I don't know. Give me the option to build my own palette and include the foundation and just charge me for whatever you want the foundation to be. Don't exclude it from that experience. I wouldn't have bought two bronzers, which is what I did in order to fill one of those compacts because I really just wanted the foundation and I also wanted an additional product. So I don't remember how these were packaged. I will go back to the video that I unboxed this stuff in. I'll just double check to see what that looked like, what that process was like. The products that came in the build your own palette, they came without this box. And there is no option as far as I could tell. And I did check before I filmed this video and like maybe I just like missed it, but I don't think there's an option to buy a refill without this box coming with it or a box coming with it. The single shadows come in like a thin box if you buy them individually. I haven't personally experienced that. I have seen others experience that. And I also know that there are versions of their packaging that can hold more product than this. I have seen it. Again, I have not experienced it. I'm not sure what comes in that component versus the custom plastic, not plastic component. I don't know what it is. What if I'm going through this and I just finished the one eyeshadow? I'm gonna buy a replacement for it and I just want to put it in here. Well, you send it to me in one of these boxes. Now I have to dispose of the box, which is like, I already have to dispose of the outer packaging of the box. And now I have to also dispose of this. And I didn't need this. You could have just sent me, I'm gonna call it the pro version, like the version that doesn't have any extra packaging. I guess all of this is to say, I wish that you had an option to just buy the pan. And I wish that the pans that you used were already magnetic. I think that would also entice more people because I don't think everyone's going to want to use your cardboard packaging, but also they don't want to buy this, get the cardboard packaging, go through the process of depotting the thing inside to then put a sticker on the bottom to put it. Do you hear what I'm saying, Mob? I don't think you should stop offering this if you don't want to stop offering this. I wish there was like a pro option where I can just buy things that are in magnetized pans. And I'm not even speaking from a sustainability point. I just think limiting it to being your own packaging is much like, think of a Keurig or a Nespresso. The big investment is not in the packaging itself, because this outer packaging is not super expensive. The expenses come from buying the Nespresso pods. And that's what this feels like to me. It's like you made this and you made it really convoluted and it didn't have to be like that. So I actually don't like the packaging, but it's not because it's paper. I don't mind interacting with this. I like this packaging. I just think it's convoluted. It would be the most sustainable, in my understanding of sustainability, to send your products in biodegradable envelopes or recyclable envelopes that you can send out just the magnetized pan in. It just seems like that. And then also, I don't mind this lipstick component, but I don't want to buy your forever component. And also, you seem to have like a custom size for this, because I've tried to find on the internet another brand that has refillable lipstick packaging that this would work in, because I would want something more elegant to put this in, because that's just me. Not everyone's going to want that. And I don't think you have to have an offering for that. But I think what I do prefer is the way that the brand Keurig Weiss does this, because they also, I think, are focused on sustainability. Both brands are clean brands. So they have similar ethos. Keurig Weiss has like a couple of options. You can just buy a magnetized pan. So if you're a working makeup artist, or you are someone who just makes your own face palettes and you do not need outer packaging, you just need the product itself, you can buy that. I think that their costs are a little more expensive than even a Mob one in this packaging cost, but I'm just saying that's an option. Then there is an option to get cardboard packaging, and I believe that has a little magnet in it for closure. These don't have any magnets, makes it easier to recycle. You can't recycle magnets, that's a whole thing. Sorry, I'm just like trying to get through all of this. I'm not even like mad, I'm like trying to get through this fast because I don't think everyone's gonna care about this. It's not even that I care that, like, I do care about sustainability, but I just am like, I think there's a better way. And I don't understand what Mob is choosing to do. So Keurig Weiss also has an option to buy super luxury packaging. This is really heavy. I don't have my product in here right now. But if I do opt into this the first time, then every time after I buy it, I have like this really beautiful, luxurious thing. So I don't know, maybe at some point, Mob, just think about it. You could do like some really beautiful metal components and like maybe do a limited run, and you can buy it and it will fit your stupid, it'll work for the methods that you currently have. But like, honestly, I don't even really need it for those products. You can keep doing whatever you're doing for this one, but make something better for the lipsticks. I think also, I just think that a lot of people like lipstick, and I think a lot of people who aren't even like super into makeup, like the world that I'm in, would love to have or opt into something that feels really luxury, and how great it would be to just be able to buy a refill. Luxury brands abroad that offer refillable packaging, they often really make really covetable, beautiful components for that. Dries Van Noten, the Confession lipsticks from Hourglass. There's like a lot of brands that already have refills for their lipsticks. Westman Atelier doesn't. And I'm still going to come at them hard and fast about that because they haven't made refills for any of their things and they keep claiming that they're going to do it. That's not on you, Mob Beauty. I just feel like we could have done a little bit better with this packaging thought-wise, because I just think you didn't have to make your own system. I'm not even saying that Mob is expensive, but I'm sure that the makeup would cost less if it didn't have this additional packaging around it and it was just the metal pan. Again, having an option for just metal pans would satisfy all of my problems with your packaging. I just don't understand why you didn't just do that in the first place. Let's talk about product. I'm going to have application footage of this face of makeup that I'm currently wearing playing while I'm talking to you about product. And if I have anything close to the products color-wise, I will also show you that on screen, swatched out on my arm. Let's start with their ceramide. I think it's a ceramide cream foundation, and I have the shade Neutral 20. And if you get a good look at it, I have made quite the dent in it, but I'm not sure that that's 100% usage. I did scrape some out at one point to mix it with another product. So first of all, I think this is actually a pretty good match for me. It does look a little bit yellow when it first goes on, but as it blends out, it looks really nice and natural on me. I will say, whenever I said I was going to do a Mob review, some of my close makeup friends were like, can't wait to hear what you think about that foundation. This foundation has a bit of a reputation on the internet, I think already. TLDR review, we'll start up top. I think it's an okay foundation, but like, I think there are a lot of qualms with it. It's not going to be perfect for everyone. I think starting with a cream foundation, you're going to lose a lot of people kind of right out the jump. I think a lot of people are adverse to cream foundation. I do think that almost every cream foundation I've come across, whether it be in a stick form or in a pan, requires some kind of special prep, and this is no different. I think that this foundation wants to be a matte foundation. Like, it wants to be a matte foundation. It wants to set like a matte foundation. It wants to dry down pretty quickly on your face. So prep is very important. The best results I've ever gotten with this product is like, I've done my skincare and then I either mix it with something or I prep with the hyaluronic balm highlight thing that they sell that we'll talk about in a moment, which that's what I did today. I used the hyaluronic balm as my primer today, and it makes it really easy to blend out. I've talked about the Merit complexion stick on my channel before, and I really love that product, but it does need something slippy to glide on and help it sink into the skin. Otherwise, I find that this product can like have the appearance of like you're wearing a lot of makeup on your face with the kind of makeup that I feel like Mob is making. They're making the kind of makeup that is a little bit effortless. Like you can do some really cool grungy looks. And if you look at a lot of the people who use Mob Beauty, they are doing really cool, grungy, yucky looks. This foundation is a little too specific to be the foundation that you're offering as part of this system. Because honestly, one of the most beautiful things about this is you could perhaps put everything that you need for makeup while you're traveling in one thing and then just take it. But if you don't like their foundation and you have to carry something separate, then that's just an additional thing you're adding to the system that could have been a perfect system. I think it gives you like a nice medium coverage. I think it is buildable. I don't like it under my eyes. I do not have it under my eyes today. I did use this dewdrop under my eyes today. I like almost no cream foundations right under my eyes. It just doesn't normally work out for me. I would also say that this foundation does better if you don't powder. I have oily skin, so I'm already at a step up whenever it comes to this foundation. Like, I think it just already works better on oily skin, but I do find that it doesn't really like being powdered. And if you have dry skin, you would probably already try to avoid powdering as much as you can. And if you do powder, you want to do as little as possible. I would say that this doesn't really need powder if you can get it to set right and look good on your skin, and then it wears pretty well. I will say it's one of those foundations, I think because of the moisture, it feels a little bit dry on the skin at first. I think if you have natural oils building, you live in a humid area, I think about an hour in is when it starts looking its best. That's not a quality in a foundation I really like. I feel like with my skin and the prep that I have been doing, I can make it look really good, woo out the bam. I just applied this makeup. I think for me, this is not a foundation that I would go out of my way to buy. If you are looking to have it be part of your Mob experience, if you don't own any makeup and you are attracted to Mob because of this and like the idea of putting everything all together and being able to like put it in the system and go, we're just going to refer to it as the system. You'll know what I mean whenever I say the system. Then I think it's an okay foundation for that. I can't see this foundation being anyone's favorite foundation. It's a foundation that I think that some people can make look beautiful on their skin, but it's like also, are you a person who's going to do the work or try all of the things to make it work on your skin? And I think if you have to figure that stuff all out, it doesn't make a good foundation. A foundation, I think, should really easily lay on your skin, whether you use your brush or a sponge or your hands. It doesn't matter the prep that you use, it should always just go on beautifully. I think that this requires a little bit of work. My favorite way to use it is if I'm just sitting down and doing my makeup one night and I'm just kind of like having makeup playtime and I don't already have foundation on my face, I will just grab this and put it on my face. And I think it works well for like looks on camera. And actually it wears really well. I'll show you footage of like a before and after a day of wearing it. And I think it looks pretty good at the end of the day. I think it almost looks better at the end of the day than it did at the beginning of the day. It's good. It's not the best. If you've never bought anything from Mob and you weren't looking for a foundation, I wouldn't add this to my cart. But if you want it to be part of the system, I think you can make it work with products from Mob. And depending on what your skincare is like outside of using this makeup. The Blurring Blot Balm. Black Friday, you had to specifically search for it, but now it's part of their menu options. So I bought this because I thought it would be a good primer maybe, but I also was like, I don't know. I'm not really one to like blot throughout the day either. So whenever I was making my purchase, you could not buy this in the system. It came in one of these at first, but then I moved it in here and moved another product out. It reminds me a little bit of the Danessa Myricks Blurring Balm. I think Mob promises a lot less than Danessa Myricks does out of the Blurring Balm. I think they're just like, you blot with it, that's what we use it for. I think it does work as a little bit of a pore filling primer. It has like a dimethicone feel, whether or not there are dimethicones in it. I don't really care. I use it as a primer on my nose today, kind of like what I do with the Sisley Blur Expert. This is really slippy compared to using the Sisley Blur Expert, but the Sisley Blur Expert is a powder and this is a balm, so of course they're going to apply differently. But I think it made the makeup look good on my nose. Like, I don't think I have any problems with the way my nose looks today. There's a little bit of redness on the center of my nose. I was wearing glasses for most of the day, so you know, I had that little settling on my nose from wearing glasses. And then as a blotting powder, in the footage at the end of the day, I blotted my face after wearing the foundation all day, and it works really well as a blotting thing. I don't think that this is an entirely unique product, this blurring balm, but I think this is a good version of it. I liked it much more than my experience using the Danessa Myricks one, but it only comes in one color, so I don't know if you were looking for an alternative to the Danessa Myricks one. I don't think that this is going to have a color to it, but if you were looking for one that had a color to it to use, like you might use the Danessa Myricks one as like maybe you would use one slightly deeper as a bronzer, or you use it as like your complexion product as like a foundation, it's not going to be able to do that for you unless they extend the shade range, or they have extended the shade range and I missed it since I bought mine, but the clear one was the only one that was available when I bought mine. Overall, this is not something I think I would buy again, but I love a blurring thing. As part of the system, they do have a setting powder, but it's loose, and I don't care about loose setting powder. I very rarely choose to use loose setting powder. They call it a blurring setting powder. I think as part of the system, having this option is really great for someone who like doesn't want to have powder on the outside. I feel like I've heard passively that there is a setting powder that will be pressed that will be coming out. I'm not 100% sure about that. I can't imagine that it's not something that they would choose to do. It would make a lot of sense for the system. Do it for the system, mob. On the go, you need something to blot. You want it to be part of the system. I think it's a good option. I like the product. It's not a home run. This is the highlight balm, and it is in the shade M99. I thought that this was going to be a little bit shinier than it is, but it is more a balm than a highlight. But there is a little bit of silver sparkle, blue sparkle that's really finely milled, dispersed through the product. It doesn't make your cheek look like you're wearing like bright highlight. It's a very natural looking highlight. I think that's what they were going for. They also have a powder highlight, which I did not purchase to try. So, but I've heard it's pretty good. It's kind of like a very standard thing. Again, I think it would probably be a good purchase to be part of the system if you wanted to be part of the system. You better not be taking shots every time I say the system. The registered trademark system. I don't know if the system is trademarked or patented or what. I'm just joking. It's a callback. The first time I applied it, I was underwhelmed because I thought it was going to be shinier, because I remember at some point Mob had a big pan of something sparklier, and I don't know if it was the Sparkle Balm, which we'll talk about later, and they just made the Sparkle Balm an eyeshadow size as opposed to a full face size, even though you can use it either way. So I guess I thought this was going to be sparklier. So at first I was pretty disappointed. However, I quite like it. It doesn't feel like sticky on the face whenever I touch my face. So if I had my hair down and my hair got in it, I don't think it would like stick. And it does leave like a sheen after the balminess does suck into my skin, and it does. Like I just said about the foundation, I like to use it as a primer for the foundation in the parts of my skin that I want to look glowy. And I think it works the best for that. I use the Chanel Balm Essentiel for a similar effect, and I also really like that product. To touch it, it's a little bit firm at first, and your finger needs to like melt it a little bit. It's not like the balm in the Auric palette. That's really gloopy. This isn't gloopy. It just is like melts to the touch. It's really pretty, but it's just really understated. If you are someone who loves highlight and is looking for like a bright highlight experience, this isn't going to be good for that. But I think ultimately, if you have dry skin, this would help you with a lot of the cream products that Mob has. You could use it as a mix-in. And I think that's primarily how I was using it throughout. I very rarely put it on top. I was always choosing other highlighters. So I don't know that this is something that I would buy again, but I think in the range of Mob, it's a useful product. Mob does kind of inspire like mixing and matching quite a bit. I feel like the branding and the way it looks and the way it's kind of sold really spurs that kind of creativity. As a product on its own, it's not something I would go out of my way to buy from Mob, but if you were making your own face palette and you like to, you know, sometimes I've done this before, take a little bit of a balm and press it under the eyes if my eyes are looking a little bit crusty. It works well for that. It's kind of like a touch-up product that's the equal but opposite of the blurring balm. So like, I would say the blurring balm is going to be better for people with oily skin. And if you have dry skin, I think having one of the hyaluronic highlighters will help assist you. I need you to hear me out here. Mob has two blush formulas. They have the cream clay blushes, and they also have powder blushes. Now I was going to buy one of each, except I didn't like any of the blush colors that they had to offer. And that is disappointing to me, because in their eyeshadow formula, both the powder and the cream eyeshadow formula, they have so many unique colors that you can't really find in other brands available in there. So why not the blushes? Why not the blushes? Why aren't we doing the same thing for the blushes? Please do it for the blushes, because their blushes, for the most part, are very standard, straight down the middle blushes I think you could find from any brand. The colors are like things you could buy from any brand. My biggest disappointment as someone who prefers to wear cool tones, they don't have really cool toned blushes. They have some neutral ones, and I think the only one that's cool toned is a pink one, like a bright pink one. Everything else you do and have done in this brand is so nuanced, and I just don't know why the blushes aren't like meeting all the other things where they're at. I can use the cream clay eyeshadows as blushes. I can also probably use the lipstick as blushes, but why don't you sell cool blushes, cool toned blushes, and unique blush shades? The only one that I think was unique that I did not buy was the shade called, well, I don't know what it's called, but it was described as like a pumpkin orange, and it was really pretty. It was like this really yellow orange. It looked so gorgeous. However, the eyeshadows that I chose were very purpley and cool toned. There wasn't like a purpley pink. There wasn't anything like purpley as an option for the blushes, at least as far as what I could see on your website. And if you do have that option, your descriptions and the visuals you provided did not make me believe that you had any very cool leaning blushes, despite the one pink shade. And I think we can do a lot more with cool tones. As someone who is a purveyor of cool tone color cosmetics, we can make a cool tone thing. Please make a cool tone thing. You've done it with other parts of your brand. I just don't know why the blushes got left out. I bought one of the cream clay blushes. It's this shade right here. As you can see, I went very basic B, but I thought it would be the one shade of blush that they offer that I think would go with all the purple eyeshadows that I bought. So that's why I didn't buy an orange one, because I have historically, when I've done these brand reviews, not gone with a consistent color story throughout all of the products. And it has led to some not terrible looks, but just things that didn't seem very well thought out. This is the blush in M72, and it is a clay blush. It's not a balm. So these two products are very melty. You get your finger in there. As soon as the warmth gets into that product, it gets really melty, ooey gooey. This takes a second to warm up, and it is a much thicker consistency. Same with the cream clay bronzer. And I would say that the finish that this wants to have would probably be like a matte finish. Not like a strong matte, but it does want to lean matte. Here's what I'll say. It picks up well on a brush, and it blends out really beautifully. And I think it would be really, really hard to overdo your blush with it. I think it's a very friendly to beginners with blush, especially if you're not used to cream blush. I think it's a very beginner friendly cream blush. It's actually quite a lovely formula. I actually don't have any problems with it. It's really the color. Everything else about it is really lovely. I find it to, you know, if you put it on top of glowy things, I think it'll look glowy. So I have the balm highlighter down as a primer, and then I have the foundation on top of that, which makes it look glowy. And I feel like this blush looks glowy. And I also have the highlighter on top, which makes it look glowy. It's adaptable. But if you put it on just like with nothing else, it's going to be matte. Sometimes I worry about clay products like maybe making my skin feel a bit tight. It feels really comfortable on the skin. I think it looks good. Melts into the skin quite well. No complaints about that. I think it's a lovely product. I just hate all the shades in it, and also your powder blushes. But I'm really glad I didn't buy a powder blush, and we'll talk about that in a second. If you made beautiful, colorful blushes that I felt like I couldn't buy anywhere else, I would tell people to go out of their way to buy your blush, or at least your cream blush, because that's what I've tried. But your offerings right now are disappointing to me. I think if you are really compelled by any of the cream blushes from Mob, I think it might be worth going out of your way, because I do think even in the warmer tones, there might be some colors there, like that pumpkin-y shade. Ultimately, I try to buy colors that I would like want to wear and be compelled to wear. I'm pretty sure that this is the same formula, but just in a bronzer color. They also have the cream bronzer. I bought the shade M80. Very similar. It's like not melty to touch at first. It takes a little bit of warming up. Just like the blush is a soft, buildable cream formula. It'd be really hard to go overboard with your bronzer if you were using it. I think it's a very friendly bronzer. I believe there are only 4 shades of this. I think we could do a little bit better with that. I will say, as far as cream bronzer shades go, I think this for a fair bronzer shade is a really nice one. I compared it to the one from the Auric Mirage Shift palette and also the Trixie one, and I do feel like this one has the most neutral, nuanced color. I think that they really honed this in for fair skin. People with fair skin, depending on our undertone, have a problem with things looking too orange, yellow, or red, and I feel like this is a really nice right down the middle bronzer color for someone with my skin tone. I have it on right now, but I have the powder bronzer on over top of it. I think the bronzer is really beautiful. I think if you have fair skin and you are looking for a really easy to use cream bronzer, I think that's a product that I would go out of my way to buy outside of the realm of trying a bunch of mob stuff. I think it's a good product by itself. I think it's a good color by itself. I can't speak to the other shades for other skin tones, but I think it's really good. So if you are attracted to them and you like what I said about it, that's what qualities you look for in a cream bronzer, then it might be one to check out. I find that cream bronzers and cream blushes are really easy to get wrong by brands, and they make them too pigmented or not pigmented enough depending on your skin depth. But I feel like this buildableness is really appealing. Like, it does show up if you build it up. You can go really hard with it if you really want to. But if you don't really want to and you like a slow build to your color cosmetics, those are really good options. I really like them. I just would like to see more colors in both formulas. Again, we're going to talk about how many colors they have in all these other things and how great those are. Now let's move on to something that I don't quite love as much. I have their powder bronzer in the shade M36, and I feel like in the pan it looks like a bronzer I should love, but it gives me this sunburny look, which some people really like. It's not for me, but I feel like when you look on their website, it looks a little more rosy, it looks a little more wearable, a little more approachable, but oh my god, is this powder so pigmented? And it's not that it doesn't blend out. I just think there's too much of a pigment load to it. So if you have deeper skin, I think that the deeper options would probably work really well. But for someone who has fair skin, and I think that has to be thought of when you're formulating a bronzer, is like the lighter shades, we don't need it to be that pigmented. Obviously, the people with deeper complexions will need more pigment for it to show up. Not that this... and it's also like more of a blush color to me, but it is just more pigmented than I even like my powder blushes. I like a slow build. I feel like I had a lot of control over all of the cream products. I feel like I have almost zero control over this powder product. It doesn't matter how much excess product I kick off, it just always feels like I'm wearing too much. And this is their lightest offering for bronzer. I would love to see an expansion of the bronze. The other thing is that I will say is that they do often like expand on things. It seems like it looks like they're trying to offer more shades when they can. And it does seem, however, their manufacturing works, that they can make new colors in their formulas with relative ease and efficiency. I mean, I don't know all of their ins and outs, but it's like, I know that they sometimes do like pop-ups where you can make your own. I don't know if they do lipstick or blushes or both or either. And I feel like a lot of the collaborations that they've done with content creators and makeup artists, etc., have come out of those people going to those pop-ups and like making a really beautiful creative shade. Anyway, I think that we could do better with the bronzers. I just think they're too pigmented. I can appreciate different levels of depth needing something different, but I also like think that consideration could go both ways too. The pigment load can be lower for people with lighter skin and then higher for people with deeper skin, and then the colors would reflect. But I think for this to be like your lightest shade, I think it's just a little hard for someone with to use. I think it looks fine. I think it looks good on my skin. I think it looks skin-like on my skin. I think it does look like a natural sunburn on my skin. I just think it's too much of a decided color of a bronzer, if that makes any sense to anyone. All right, let's talk about the eyeshadows, which I think is like what everyone's here for. We'll start with the powder ones because I don't think people are as interested in those as they are as the cream ones. So I want you to be waiting on the edge of your seat. I bought 4 powder eyeshadows. Those are going to be the ones on the bottom for you. And then 4 of the cream shades. Well, 3 cream eyeshadows and then 1 sparkle balm, which is a different formula. So the powder eyeshadows, much like the bronzer, heavy pigment load. However, unlike the bronzer, and perhaps it's just I'm more regularly using highly pigmented colors on my eyes, I find them very easy to work with. Like a lot of impact of color, but also very easy to blend. They're almost like creamy as they blend on the eye. They work really, really, really beautifully. They also have incredible lasting power. We're talking about the powder eyeshadows. We're not talking about the cream eyeshadows yet. But the powder eyeshadows have great longevity. They were really easy to work with. Now, keep in mind, I did buy neutral, cool, undertoned eyeshadows. So these already are probably going to be the easiest thing for them to formulate. I would also take that with a grain of salt. This satin shade, it's pretty. I just don't care about it. I was expecting a little bit more. I love sparkle, which is why I bought the sparkle balm. I love, like, satin has a time and a place, but I would rather create an ethereal, soft look with more dispersed sparkle and having the option to build up sparkle with a product rather than it just kind of like being a satin. That's just my preference. So it's not anything to the eyeshadow. I think it's a pretty color. I think it's gorgeous. And they have so many shades of their powder eyeshadows and the cream eyeshadows. There's so many shades. So you could definitely find something in there. I do find that the cream eyeshadows seem to be a little more daring than their powder eyeshadows. I would love to see like much more interesting powder eyeshadows as well. My understanding of people's perception of this brand is like they would really love to use the cream clay eyeshadows. They're just not sure how they're going to perform on them as far as longevity goes. And I think that they make really high quality powder eyeshadows. And it's like, well, let's start making some fun colors over there. It's not that they don't have fun, beautiful colors over there. I just think that there could be more unique, fun powder eyeshadows. And I do feel as though whenever people do collab with them, it's always like cream shadows. They're not always, but it's oftentimes a cream shadow or a couple cream shadows because that seems to be where they'll be more daring in the color and texture is in the cream shadows. I think that these powder eyeshadows are really, really great. And if you were looking for really easy, high impact shadows, which I do believe these are, again, I bought a bunch of browns, so like high impact for me, but like my experience with them is like they show up the way I want, they blend the way I want. Again, on my eyes, I can handle a little more pigment at first. It's still not my preferred. I do love a slow build on my eyes, but I found these really workable. They remind me a lot of the eyeshadows from Bella Beauté Bar, sort of. Not in the way that they like feel texturally like when you touch them, but the way that they go on. It's like I feel like Bella Beauté Bar eyeshadows have a nice pigment load, but also allow you to blend them. These do the same thing. Okay, I said that like 7,000 different ways. Let's move on to the cream clay eyeshadows. So I bought 3 of them. I bought 2 that were matte and then 1 that was a shimmer. So these 2 shades are the matte ones. The matte shades I bought were M111 and M112. I have all of the purple shadows on my eyes today. So I do want to take a second to talk about M112. I love that eyeshadow. I love that color, but just like, it's in the center here. I've been swatching. I mean, it's so like corpsey. It's like so dead and dull looking. And I know that's going to sound negative to some of you, but stuff like that is so hard to find, it seems. It's so decided. They describe it as a mushroom color, and it like certainly is that, but it's like almost like there's gray and yellow in there, and it's so yucky. This could be a great soft contour for people with fair skin. I do think it's a little warm for but I have contoured with it, but like it's a little too warm for me. But like putting it on my eyes and then putting it on my cheeks almost as like a blush contour, it's so good. It's so good. I love that shade. I love that shade. And it's so honed in, which is a little bit annoying. Like, why can't your blushes be as honed in as like something like that? That's so great. It also kind of matches the lipstick I'm wearing, which we'll of course talk about. When I was picking out the shades, I kept coming back to it and I was like, I need to buy it. Even though I was going for like kind of like a purple smoky thing, I was like, but I have to try that shade. And I'm so glad I added it. This shade I would go out of my way to buy. But if you're interested in that shade. Okay. Reel it in. The cream clay eyeshadows are so easy to work with. They blend out so easy. They build up very well. I think working in thin layers and blending them out and then building from there is the best option. I do feel this is kind of with any cream shadow. If you put too much of the product down at first, it's like almost a recipe for creasing. They do crease. I'll show you a little bit of footage of me and checking in for every couple of hours. They crease, and I would say that they kind of like disappear, at least on like the folds on my lids. That can be a deal breaker. That's totally fine if it's a deal breaker for you. They're the product that I have come back to Mob for the second most. There's another product that I've come back to Mob products for the most in my journey of trying it. But like anytime I like just wanted to sit down and put on a beautiful eye look and know that wasn't going to be a lot of work, it's that. Like there were so many times where like I just wanted to like, you know, have makeup playtime. And I was just like, I want to play with those cream shadows again because they're so fun to play with. They're not going to perform the way that everyone wants to perform. If you need like a bulletproof eyeshadow that's going to last throughout the day and that's how you need your eyeshadow to perform, great, perfect. These aren't for you. Maybe look at their powder shadows if you want to buy from Mob. There are other formulas of cream eyeshadows that I find last really long throughout the day. The Merit Solo shadows, they're much stiffer in the pan too. They don't melt right away. This feels more like the cream blush and contour from Mob than these eyeshadows are really creamy. They're like more balmy than the cream clay products for the cheek. So I think that has something to do with potentially the longevity on the eyes. And I also find that a lot of cream shadow sticks wear much longer and better than this. I did buy fairly light shades of the Mob Cream eyeshadows, so I don't know if I bought something really dark from them, if it would do a creasy, sexy, sultry thing. The shades that I bought slowly disappear on my eyes throughout the day, and if I don't put any of the sparkle in it, like they just kind of like slowly fade and it looks fine, but it's not doing any of that slinky, sultry thing that something like the Rowan eyeshadows would do for me, or like the Isamaya eyeshadows do, where it's like creasy and it's grungy and like looks like you're doing it on purpose almost. It's like really lived in. It's just kind of like, it goes away. That's been my experience. So if you're looking for that grungy look, I think there are also better options than this, but I only bought light shades. I bought a satin shade as well. The satin shade is M146. It's fine. It would be something very simple to pull over your lid and impress people with how well you blended it out. It's fine. There are a lot of really fun shades in the cream clay eyeshadows. I personally wouldn't hesitate to buy more, but I'm okay with my eyeshadow not lasting all day. I'm okay with it fading on me. And that's just the reality of the situation of how I like to wear makeup now. I just like don't mind if it fades away beautifully throughout the day. And I think it does. I'm not looking to have like bulletproof long lasting eyeshadow, but if you're looking for that, their powder eyeshadows will provide that for you. So it's not like they don't have the option there for you. I just get that a lot of people are compelled by the colors and just the idea of their cream clay eyeshadows. Are they called cream clay? That's what most people, if they are going to that brand, are like wanting to try first, like not all of their other products. I think they're fun to play with. I think they're a joy. I think they're a blast. I think they're easy to use, but I can completely appreciate. I tried with eyeshadow primer. I tried without eyeshadow primer. I tried so many ways to try to make it last all day, just to see if I could. I wasn't concerned about it, but I knew that the question would come up. But yeah, even like powdering over them, like which you could do, but I think it would take away from the texture of the eyeshadow because it's so skin-like and soft on the skin. Putting powder over top of it would just change it a little bit. I don't know. At that point, I think having too many layers of anything on my eyes is just going to cause it to crease more. Those are the cream eyeshadows. And then I also bought a sparkle balm. I bought the silvery one. It's the shade M129. And it sure is a sparkly thing. I compared it in swatch footage to Skin of a Killer from Bella Beauty Bar, which is a shade of eyeshadow I've been talking about a lot lately. And you'll be able to see from the footage that Skin of a Killer is a lot more sparkly than this. You can build this up and get a lot more sparkle, but I really like taking a brush and applying it kind of sparsely. And that's what I have on my eyes right now. And I think it looks really beautiful. Again, I think a thinner layer of this is going to provide you a better look over the course of the day because less sparkle will get caught in the fold of your lids, but it's also a kind of product that you can just like tap out and it will look great again. Unlike the cream shadows, this does fall out. You probably already saw it in my timed footage from the cream clay shadows just to show you. It like falls out on the cheeks. So I definitely think like a thinner layer of this is the best. One way I like to wear it and I feel like it doesn't get everywhere is just on the inner corner of my eyes. So I'll do a look with a completely different palette. And if I want something really sparkly on the inner corner of my eyes, I will like run to this to just put it there. And it's really gorgeous for that. You wouldn't need to buy it for that. I think it wears better on the cheeks throughout the day because at least on my cheeks, I have less texture on my cheeks right now. I don't want to get anything balmy too close to the outer corner of my eyes where crow's feet are starting to form for me. I just think keeping balmy things away from places where it can break down and get into crevices is wise. So I think on the cheek, it worked a lot better for me. It reminds me a lot of the Ritual de Fille, The Alchemist. The Alchemist has a lot more sparkle to it and a lot of more diversely sized sparkles in it. And this is like very consistent. It's really gorgeous. I could see people having a lot of fun with this. But again, I think of sparkly things, it is probably one of the things that is like the hardest to use that I've encountered, but I still enjoy using it. Again, it's fun. What isn't fun about a thing called a sparkle ball? If I were buying again from Mob. The thing that I would buy for the eyes over and over and over again would be the cream clay eyeshadows, even though they don't have the best longevity. If they made some powder eyeshadow colors that I found really compelling, I wouldn't hesitate to buy them. I think the cream eyeshadows are like really where it's at when it comes to them. They're really popular. It seems to be the thing that is the most popular. It seems to be the thing that I see most other people who talk about Mob regularly on Instagram use. They're like kind of always using those. Those seem to be like the star of the show for Mob, and I can understand why. It's really how important longevity on the eyes is to you specifically. That will be your deciding factor on whether or not you should buy those. But I really loved my time and experience with them. I did buy one of their lip liners. I think right now they only offer 3 lip liner shades. That might change by the time you see this video. I know that there are some lip products coming, but I bought the shade M159, and it's a cool toned grayish lip liner, and I did not put swatch footage of this, so because I wanted to do it in real time and just kind of show you. This is a wooden pencil sharpenable. It's a brown that has a lot of gray to it. In fact, when I bought it, I immediately thought of Makeup Forever Endless Cacao, and they are like similar in some ways, and they're almost like not discernible, but on the lips, I don't know how M159 does it. It does look more gray on my lips than Endless Cacao. Endless Cacao does look like a cool toned brown on my lips. This shade is much more gray on my lips, and I love a cool toned lip. And you know what lip liner I have used the most since I've gotten it? The formula isn't really super creamy, but I wouldn't say it's the driest formula I've ever used. I can line all of my lips and then take my finger and buff it, and it hasn't set yet, which I like as a quality. I also do prefer a pencil that sharpens. That's a wooden pencil that sharpens. So I'm very into the way that they have chosen to do this. I wish there were more shades of the lip liner, but I kind of understand why they don't have a bunch of shades of it either, because a lot of people are just going to buy their perfect nude shade in a lip liner and kind of like move on with their life. And I think M159 is a really good nude lip liner for me. I really like wearing it, especially with the lipstick I ended up buying from them. But yeah, Endless Cacao is really close. If you have Endless Cacao, you don't need to run to buy M159. You can definitely use that up first before you would choose to buy it. But if you wanted to try something different when you use up Endless Cacao, I think it would be a fun one to try. And I think the formula is actually pretty comparable between these two formulas. So it's like, it would be a lateral move. It wouldn't be like an upgrade. It wouldn't even really be that much of a difference in formula. It's just, on me, the slight difference of color, which is like very slight, as you can see in these swatches on my hand. The slight difference in color, for some reason, the one from Mob pulls a lot cooler on me. We're going to finish off on a high note, but before we finish off on a high note, we have to talk about a thing that I think is actually maybe the worst product I tried from Mob, and it is the lip balm. And I have the shade M138, but I have a feeling that this would be consistent across the board with this product. So here it is. It's their black lip balm. There's like too much pigment, and that the way that the pigment is suspended in the balm, it catches in texture on my lips really quickly. You can buff it out and that's fine, but then it takes away the moisturizing factor of the lip balm. And it's like, I want a very lightly pigmented lip balm if it's going to be a color. And I understand like this is a cool and different thing. It's also really soft, and like that's fine that it's really soft, but like I feel like chunks of it always like break off when I use it, and then I'm like blending the chunks into my lips. It's just like a very unsatisfactory lip balm experience just as a lip balm. And then adding the color in it, it's like too much of the color. I would have to look in my mirror to apply it. Like it's just not a fun time. I think I've tried much better lip balms with a color in it. And a similar product is actually something that my friend Ananda gifted me recently from a small Etsy brand called Priya Means Love. And this is their lip therapy in the shade Smoke. And it's a very similar idea. It's a black lip balm. Do you see how this is like a thinner formula? It carries the pigment better than the one from Mob, the darker one. For a gray or black lip, I have been choosing the lip therapy over this every time. But I'm glad I tried it because I have been so curious about a black lip balm for a while. Actually, both the lip therapy and the Mob one came into my life around the same time, and I just have been choosing this one over the Mob one. I would forgo this unless you were buying the clear one, but even then, that weird thing where I put it on my lips and it just kind of like breaks really fast is like very unsatisfactory. And I have other soft lip products that I use. I don't get that problem with. Yeah, it's just not for me. We have come to the last product, and this is the moment. I normally don't care about lipstick. Every lipstick that I have bought that's supposed to be gray has turned out to be something else. It's never looked gray on me, always a little bit too warm. It's always a warm gray. And I wouldn't say that this is like the coolest toned of things I've put on my lips. I'm actually going to show you some footage. I did a first impressions of Mob, and I did that for my patrons and channel members explicitly. And I'm just going to show you the reaction I had when I put this lipstick on for the first time. Okay. Oh. Do you know what oh, I love I love it. Oh, I love this. I love this. Oh. I'm moved. I'm moved. That's makeup. And that's how I feel about it. It's like, this is makeup. This is fun makeup. This is a color that I feel like brands aren't making in lipstick. It is just so good. Now, I believe this is supposed to be a matte formula. I always feel like I get a cream finish when I wear it. It's never really fully set down. And it doesn't even like really feel like a matte on my lips. It just feels like a cream lipstick. It's really comfortable. It can dry, like obviously like when I talk a lot, it does like do like a little bit of like the drying thing around my lips, but like any matte lipstick is going to do that. Like it's just the color is so honed in. I believe that Jessica Hayes, this is like her color collaboration with them. It's so good. And the other lipstick colors are also so good. Again, why not with the blushes? Why aren't we doing that with the blushes? Mob, please. Mob, please. Come out with blush. Like, this is a blush. Ooh, this is a contour. Ooh, bitch. Get it on my face. I love it. Like, this is so good. It's not even like my favorite lipstick formula I've ever used. It's just such a honed in color. But I do like the lipstick formula. But it is so fun. Every time I've worn this, people are like, oh, are you wearing a Royal Scandal? No. I'm not. I have a Royal Scandal from Gucci. It's a discontinued shade. They are like sister shades, but not the same. A Royal Scandal has a little bit of green in it, and if you have an olive undertone, I think it's going to read a little more nude, and it's going to do what this shade M102 does for me on my lips with my pink undertone. Like, M102 is like the pinky version of a Royal Scandal. And I love a Royal Scandal, but it does have a little bit of green into it, and it feels like a more decided choice when I wear a Royal Scandal. But I feel like M102 always looks good with whatever I'm doing because of my skin tone. And I'm often doing cool tone looks, and kind of looking corpsey is something that I'm into. It's just like, does it for me. It's so great. And it works so well with the lip liner I bought from them. Favorite lip combo. I wear it all the time. Like anytime I was going like out for an evening thing and I wanted to wear like a fully pigmented lipstick, I've grabbed the lip liner almost any time I was wearing even a lip gloss. It was like, it's so good. This combo is so good. This lipstick is so good. What they can and have done with color at Mob is so great. I just wish it was happening all the way throughout the line because this is my dream. I love it. I have been kind of like sitting on my hands to not have to talk about this with you. Because I've been like testing it in secret, and I just wanted to like form my own opinions on what I tried from Mob, and like, this is the moment. She is the moment. I did a video a couple months ago, or maybe a month ago, where I went through my wish list, and the thing that I added to my wish list is I would love to have more Mob matte lipsticks in like the really fun colors that they do. It's incredible. Let's wrap things up with some final thoughts. I feel like critiqued a lot about Mob. I specifically went a little bit hard on the packaging, and I know that it sounded like I cared a lot. I don't actually care that much. They can choose to do whatever they want. It just like was a little bit perplexing to me. And I know that I have been a little bit critical of some of the products, and some of the products I have said that I would like not go out of my way to buy again. However, I loved playing with it. Like, even beyond the eyeshadows, I have loved. Sometimes when I'm reviewing makeup, it feels like a chore to put on my face, and putting Mob on my face was never a chore. And I always felt like I was exploring something and getting to try makeup in a way I've never tried makeup before. It was like fun and exhilarating, and it was like, oh, this is what putting makeup on should feel like. Even though I'm not out here doing like the grungiest or like the yuckiest or the most intense looks on my face, I enjoyed the process every time. I loved playing with it. I loved playing with it, all of the time. Some of the shades I found boring. I think the only thing that I think is like a dud in my opinion, or two things, is the lip balm. Like, I would never buy the lip balm again. And the powder bronzer, which I think they could tweak and make it very appealing to me. I just think that the formula that they currently have is just like not it for me. But like, the foundation I think looks beautiful on my skin. I found a way to make it work. The cream bronzer is so good. The cream blush, so good. Not good color, but good. It's a good thing. The eyeshadows were all easy to work with. Like, I just never felt like there was a dull moment with anything I tried from Mob. And so I would absolutely say, if you were looking to make a purchase and restock something in your makeup collection and were choosing Mob to try, I think you'll have fun. And I could totally see a world in which I like put all my Mob stuff in these, and that's like all I took to travel with. I mean, that's not who I am. I would never actually do that, but like, I could see the appeal of it, like, and it's good. It works. It all is good. It's so good. There's something about when I was doing every face of makeup with Mob, if I was using exclusively Mob to test it, there was just something about when I looked at my vanity, there was just like 4 things on my vanity, as opposed to when I regularly do my makeup and my vanity is just like covered in like everything known to man. It's just like, there's something about being concise and decisive with how it is. It's just so nice. I feel like I started off strong, hot and heavy, but my overall experience with Mob was great. I loved it. I really enjoyed my time with it. It really comes down to what you're looking for out of makeup, whether I think Mob will work for you. My highest recommendation would be like the lipstick colors. Check out the lipstick colors. Good formula, but great honed in colors. And if you think you could handle the cream eyeshadows and like how there's like a lack of longevity, that would be like the second thing I would recommend. Ultimately, overall, I had so much fun. I had so much fun trying, reviewing Mob. It's not always like that. When I'm trying out things to review, it's not always fun. And it was so fun. And I think for me as a reviewer, that's also really important. So yeah, Mob gets a thumbs up from me, but always be discerning when you're making a purchase from any brand. Make sure that there's nothing in your collection that can do the thing that Mob might offer to you, because you have to be smart with your money. And also, you don't need everything of makeup just to try every formula. You don't need to do that. So anyway, that's going to wrap up the video. Thank you so much for watching. I feel like I gave you my spiel at the beginning. So if you're not yet subscribed, why not hit the subscribe button? Literally right now. I'm on Patreon and I have channel memberships, as I mentioned throughout this video. Over there, I do one additional video every month. Patreon and channel memberships help support me being able to buy all of this stuff to review for you so that you can make a more informed decision. So it's a great way to support me, but it's not the only way to support me. So if you don't want to join my Patreon or channel memberships, or you don't have the money to do that, I totally get it. I totally understand. I'm just happy that you are here engaging with my content. If you tried Mob Beauty, let me know in the comments down below what your favorite product is. And also let me know a product that you didn't love so much if you tried it. I also have a pinned comment. In the pinned comment, I have the links to help some people out. I have a link to help people in Gaza and the West Bank. If you have the funds to help them, please do so. I also have some mutual aid links for the people who were affected by the LA wildfires. And I also have in the pinned comment a link to donate to Sisters Pittsburgh. Sisters Pittsburgh is a Black trans-led organization that helps trans people in Pittsburgh find housing, jobs, and things that they need. So if you have the means to support any of those causes, I would really appreciate it. Take care of yourself. You have a community here. You have a community at home. I love you. I'm happy that you are here. This world is crazy and it sucks. So I'm just gonna throw that all out there. I'm happy that you are here. I'm happy that you have the time to watch my videos. I'm happy that you can make time. We all have a reason to keep living in this terrible world. I promise you, it will be worth sticking around and finding your people. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to follow your haute, and you'll find me. I'll see you in a video very soon. Go forth. Tits out.